Good morning, everybody. What a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm so glad that you are here. So, I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body mind expert and I'm a shiatsu massage therapist. And what I specialize in is helping women who are dealing with narcissistic relationships. In fact, most of the women who end up in my world, who end up part of my amazing community of people, they tend to be women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, a little bit of life experience around them. And they've done a little bit of their own work already, maybe therapy or counseling or energy work or healing work of some sort. And a lot of them, surprisingly or not, started their lives with mothers as narcissists. And so today we're really going to kind of address that for women who are sort of in that age range, who have mothers who are narcissists, and that foundation of disorder and toxicity and anxiety and walking on eggshells and mental health problems um, created difficulties for the rest of their lives until they really were able to sort of sort it out. And so, my job is to help women who are at that place to finally get the things that they need. Because in a therapy situation, you really can't. It's still a whole power struggle. It's still a whole authority, psychologist or therapist or counselor, healer, and then there's the person who's supposed to have problems. And in some ways, it sort of negates all of the incredible wisdom that you've created over the years on how to deal with toxic people, how to deal with people who have mental health disorders. And so, what I do is I help women get the experiences that they always needed. Because if you don't get the experiences of love and kindness and feminine energy and acceptance and being heard and finding your voice and understanding different ways of what it means to look like a woman, what it means to be a successful woman, if we don't get role modeling for that, new information and support for those higher beliefs, we end up creating the same patterns, partially just because we don't know any better. And so my job is to help create that beautiful alchemical space where women can take that corner and really move forward. So today's topic: how do you know if your mother is a narcissist? Well, narcissists come on two sides of the spectrum. What I like to say, the left side of the spectrum and the right side of the spectrum. For me, the right side of the spectrum are uh, human beings or women who are more intellectual, who are more focused on their head, on information. They probably have bizarre information that no one else has. Um, and it can be delightful and interesting, but also it can be very narcissistic because people who get a little bit to the further right side of the scale, they spend a lot of time in their head with information and they don't have a lot of good emotional intelligence. And so, because of that, and their focus is mainly on them, that can be the Asperger's, autism sort of side of narcissism with women. So it can be like neglect. It can feel like you were raised by wolves. It can feel like you were left to find your own way through the world because you just weren't important enough in your mind for someone to pay attention to you. So that's kind of the right side of the scale. Now, the left side of the scale for narcissism is stuff that's more like my personality, where there's a lot of emotional internal turmoil, where there's a lot of stuff going on in your internal world. And because there's so much stuff going on, and they don't have the tools or the skills or the support or the understanding in order to uh, break away from that internal drama, break away from pain or emotional craziness. Typically, narcissism on that side of the scale, on the left side of the scale, not only starts with an underlying imbalance like ADD or ADHD or bipolar, it starts with that imbalance, but then it's usually overlaid with trauma of some sort. So, and of course, if someone's coming from a family with mental health conditions, either side, there's going to be trauma involved. There's no way around it. And so, women who are more on that left side of the scale, they're narcissistic because they're anxious, or they're depressed, or they're scared, and they have a few extra things to deal with, internal issues to deal with, like, as I said, ADD or ADHD. And a lot of women went undiagnosed because they were with ADD or ADHD because they were able to somehow be higher functioning, because they were female, or mainly because those issues were identified in boys. So there's a lot more mothers out there than people recognize that deal with narcissism. Now, whether something is narcissistic or not, everybody's got a level of narcissism in it. It's self preservation. It's, where you get to a point where you say, it's going to be you or me. And you know what? It's going to be me. Those are the survivors where, you get pushed to a level in your life where you say, is it time for me to start looking out for myself? Is it time for me to set a boundary? Is it time for me to rescue myself? Because clearly, no one in this family is going to rescue me. So, because of that, everybody's got a certain level of narcissism. I had a acquaintance who once said, "You don't know what you'll do when you're in the middle of a stressful, violent situation. Let's say like war. You don't know how you're going to respond. You don't know until you're there and you experience it and you see where you come from and you see how you handle it. And even then, the first time that you handle things, it's going to be totally wrong because we don't have enough life experience to figure it out yet. So everybody's got a certain level of narcissism in them. What makes it problematic? What makes it really damaging is when that narcissism, the majority of the time, takes over the relationship. When the relationship is mainly about one person and their anxieties and their depression and their needs and their turmoil and their disorder, and they are incapable for some reason of being able to see anything but what they feel they need. Is this right or wrong? I don't know, but it is reality. It is what happens, and it's happened to a lot of women where these things were secretive and pushed underground because women aren't supposed to be that way. And if women are treating you that way, like your mother, you must have really deserved it because whose mother treats them that way? You know what? A lot of them do, which is how you ended up probably in therapy in the first place. Because more often than not, there are a lot more mother narcissists than we give credit for. Lots and lots and lots of them, and it's time to come out of the closet. So, how can you tell definitively whether your mother is a narcissist or not? Well, you have to ask yourself. You have to ask about your experience. You have to ask about your life and how it affects you. I've had people who've been in, the same family. And it's interesting because remember, we have the right side of the scale and the left side of the scale. And typically, in a lot of situations, you get a righty and a lefty in a relationship together, and then they have a baby, which is you, and or your sister or your brother. And that those children will either be more on the right side of the scale or more on the left side of the scale. And so you may have a sister or a brother who is more intellectual, who doesn't have all those emotional things. They'll say, "No, our mother wasn't a narcissist. What's wrong with you? Why are you crazy?" And then you, because you're more emotionally sensitive or aware or awake, compassionate, empathic, better emotional intelligence, more highly sensitive nervous system, because you're more on that side of the scale, you're like, "Oh no, this was extremely damaging. I ended up last every single time. I ended up feeling completely abandoned and ignored, and like what I needed, what I wanted wasn't important." And this can happen even in desperate situations like child abuse. Like one parent, with sexual abuse with the children, or abuse outside the home, or some sort of traumatic event. When it clearly a child needs support and the parent wasn't there. Those can be some of the most damaging situations. And that's how a lot of women end up working with me, because when they really needed a mother, they weren't able to get that. They weren't able to get what they need. So, one of my rules of thumb to know if someone is too far from the narcissist, as I said, is to ask yourself, what was your experience? Did you have a narcissistic experience with this person? Were you more often than not completely left behind? Were you more often than not manipulated or used as a punching bag? If that was your experience, then yes, your parent to you was a narcissist. And it's possible to other people in other relationships and other experiences, because the dynamic was different, because your mother valued them. I can't tell you how many women come to me and everybody loves their mother, but in the household, they were damaging, they were cruel, they were emotionally unstable. So it's very interesting. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. And so just because no one else may think that your mother is a narcissist, that does not mean that she isn't. So Maya Angelou once had a great quote. And the quote she said was, "When someone tells you who they are, believe them." I like to tie this to another quote, which is, if you want to know if someone is a narcissist, ask them, they'll tell you. When you start talking to people, and when their life belief, when their values are, you know what, you have to look out for number one because no one's going to look out for you. You have to make sure you take care of yourself because no one's going to take care of you. When that's the predominant belief system, you're with somebody who's pretty entrenched in a narcissist. On the one hand, yes, I'll talk all about self-care and you have to put yourself first, but it's not at the detriment of everything else in your life. It's not at the detriment to your community, to your family, to the people that you love. It's not, you don't do self-care in a way that causes more destruction than it does benefit. And so if you talk to a narcissist, they will tell you exactly what they believe, because they're really comfortable with it. Of, you know what, the world's out to get me. You have to protect yourself. You have to look for all the angles. You have to take advantage of people before they take advantage of you. All those mistrust, all of that fear and anger, and who's most important, that will tell you clearly. They will tell you clearly whether they are a narcissist, because narcissist at their core is, their belief system is that the world is a very dangerous place, and that you have to look out for number one, so that no one takes advantage of you, even your small little wonderful little girl children. You know, it ends up such a crazy dynamic of such anger and hurt and frustration and manipulation and overwhelm. So, as you start to look at life and you say, aha, this is their core belief system. And when you tie it with a little bit of mental health problems, you got a narcissist on your hands. Now, are you a narcissist? Well, it depends upon what you believe. If you've been pushed to the corner where your core belief is that everyone is out to get you and that you have to protect yourself at all costs because no one can be trusted. And I know how I'm listening to myself and I'm like, wow, that sounds paranoid. But from my own life, I know exactly what that feels like. I wouldn't create relationships with women for the longest time because I didn't trust them, because I didn't know them, because I didn't have positive experiences with them, because I hadn't had community and family of women at their best. Women who were not, I didn't have that community to help me realize that it's a really big world. Because what narcissists do is they keep you sort of trapped in your own experience, way too scared, way too anxious, way too triggered, way too manipulated by how you feel. Um, they get you thinking that that's all there is. Your world is a very small box and that no one can be trusted, especially other women. So it's very interesting because it the abuse or the experience itself keeps us trapped. The beliefs that were imprinted on us keep us trapped. The beliefs of what a good woman looks like, the beliefs of what women look like, the beliefs of what the world looks like. They're beliefs which are very small and very limiting. There's a good friend of mine, or a friend of mine that I've worked with before, and she would swear about vision boards. She would swear about looking forward to the future, about looking for what you want to create, who you want to be, where you want to go. And so vision boards and keeping that visual in her life was really important because she was looking forward to the positive, to the things that could happen. Now, if you've been sort of brainwashed and your brain shaped to believe that nothing's ever going to change, that people don't change, that you're going to be trapped in this narcissist hell for the rest of your life, if you're in that mindset, then yeah, you could be more narcissistic. If you're in the mindset of I'm trapped and there's nothing I can do, you're going to come out of a place of fear. And there will be people in your life that will point their fingers and say, aha, you're a narcissist, because the majority of the time you engage with me, you behave in a narcissistic sort of way. So, yes, that can very much happen. But when you start realizing that the world is a generous, loving place, when you start recognizing that there are people out there that can be there for you, when you start to have experiences of care and nurturing and nourishing, when you actually have your love returned to you, when your care is returned to you, when your nurturing and nourishing is appreciated and returned to you, you start to put down that fear. You start to put down that anxiety. Fear and anxiety are the motivators of narcissism. So if you've got a family member, if you've got a mother that dealt with fear and anxiety or mental health issues, yes, they were more than likely very narcissistic in many ways, because their whole focus was, how do I survive this next day? And everybody's my enemy. So to break out of that really is to have experiences of love and kindness, experiences of warmth and femininity, experiences where you can relax and listen and be heard, and finally know that you belong. So if this is the kind of experience you want to have, 2020 is the time to do it. We're building the group that I facilitate. It's never about me being the guru and having all the answers and solving your problems. It's about how we together create a space where we can care about each other in a safe way. Women who understand, who aren't going to attack you, who, have been doing their own work, who are successful in so many ways in their own life. It's a group of women that you want to be like. One of the best ways to change is to surround yourself with people that you admire, with people who've achieved some of the things that you've wanted to achieve. And it's so interesting because the women in this group, they're on all parts of the spectrum. They're at the very beginning, where they're still in that mindset of, I have to protect myself at all costs, and narcissists coming after me, and what am I going to do? And nothing's going to change, and I'm helpless and I'm hopeless, which is a very normal place to be if a narcissist has been beating you up and abusing you for a while, from birth, even sometimes. So that's very normal. To women who are on the other end, who are like, oh my God, this is the best I've ever been in my life. This is the best my life has ever looked. This is the best my life has ever felt. They've been through the process. So when you want to become uh, the best version of yourself, you need to surround yourself with other people who are achieving that, who are on the same path. And that's what this group is about. My job is to support the process. My job is to facilitate it, to watch everybody, to add the good advice, and to bring the amazing wisdom that I've collected over the years from so many other women that have gone before me about how the body works and the body mind works. My specialty is Asian medicine. How does all of this come together? And shamanic work, how does it all fit together? Essential oils and crystals and metaphysics and prayer and belief and faith and saunas and spas and massages, all of it. How do we work, and how does it bring us up? And when you start bringing the things in place that nourish you, they give you what you always needed. When you do that, you're able to get to the other side. So if you're looking to change, if you're tired of the situation, if you've dealt with this mother stuff for too long, but it's still haunting you, if you're worried you're going to keep walking into these codependent, narcissistic relationships where you're taken advantage of, whether it's at work, because these are like the ripple effect from having a mother who's a narcissist. You end up in jobs where people take advantage of you and narcissists find you. You end up in marriages and friendships where it's completely one sided. How icky is that? Well, that's what coming from a narcissist mother does. It shapes you into being someone that a narcissist preys upon. And when you start to change how you look at the world, when you start to get that nourishment, then you stop becoming the person that a narcissist wants to prey upon. Because what a good woman looks like is way different from what you were taught. She's not perfect. She has a voice, she has opinions, she has things to say. She's got kindness and empathy and love and a positive outlook. That's what a good woman, that's one version of a good woman. You get to decide what version you want to be. Mine, because I'm empathic and compassionate, is that, you know what, we can do this. We can move forward. You aren't stuck. We can evolve. And the women in my group will tell you over and over that it's super true. When you finally get the things that you need, you're able to move forward. So if this is you, if you're feeling stuck, if it's bothering you, if you want to put this stuff behind you once and for all, for God's sakes, put it behind you. You're tired of it continuing to pop up in your life. If you're ready to do that, reach out, let me know, send up a flag, look up above. In the text, there will be a link to the group. It's not as, I still need to work on the text a little bit. I still need to work on the sales page a little bit because it's a little too salesy for who I am. But what we want to do is warm it up and soften it up. But it's got all the information that you need. The information that tells you what the group's going to involve and how often we meet, and that it's super easy and super affordable until we get up to 40 women. Okay. So if you're ready to evolve, reach out, send me a flare, and we will get you the information because you can do this. Okay. It's time to put it down. It's time to put it aside and join other women who are intelligent and empathic and compassionate and kind and understanding and working through their own issues and will not judge you, because that's not the space we hold. That's not who ends up in the group. What ends up in the group is women who are actually ready and motivated and excited to move forward, and patiently and lovingly, with support from everybody else, working through the beliefs and having the experiences that they need so that they can find their place in the world at an even bigger level than they ever have. So I love you. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful you showed up. And if you know somebody else who needs this, pass it on. And if you know somebody in your life that you want to help and support, you know what? Join the group with them. This is such a beautiful environment for people. Bring some friends with you. Be the support. Just like when people start going to 12-step program, don't send them by themselves. Go with them. Be a part of it. Be a part of the community. Be a part of the world of the people that you love. Be the role model. Be the one that steps forward and says, we can do this, and this is a different way of living. So even if you've got narcissists in your life, like your daughter or your children, and you want to make a positive change in their life so that they don't end up damaged and wounded and torn apart like you did, so you don't keep, the lineage passing down of being codependent with the narcissist, get some help, figure it out, because the women in your life and the people that you love need you to. They need you to be the light and the role model. So even if this isn't a crisis, look at the people around you, look at the people that matter to you, and get support for it so you can pass the information on until they're ready to receive and accept the love that they totally deserve. And it's that love that's the technology of healing. It's actually a physical wavelength that you can measure. Okay? So have a great rest of your day. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.